New discoveries in tomb beneath Temple of Hatshepsut. Archaeologists conducting works at the Temple of Hatshepsut have made new discoveries in a subterranean tomb. The temple was constructed during the reign of Pharaoh Hatshepsut of the 18th dynasty of Egypt. It is situated opposite the city of Luxor, and is considered a masterpiece of ancient architecture, with its 3 terraces rising into the cliffs of Deir el-Bahari. Since 1961, efforts from a Polish-Egyptian archaeological expedition have been working to conserve the temple, with more recent works by a team from the Center of Mediterranean Archaeology (CA) from the University of Warsaw. Recently, CA members have been working to document and restore a chapel dedicated to Hathor, in which beneath lies a rock-cut tomb with a 15-meter-long corridor and burial chamber left untouched by archaeologists, since the tomb was first documented by Henri-Edouard Neville in the 19th century. The team discovered that the tomb contained tons of debris, in which several hundred artifacts were found that date from either the Middle Kingdom when the tomb was constructed, or from the later 18th dynasty in the New Kingdom period. Dr. Patrick Chudzik from CA reported that the tomb was built next to the temple of Pharaoh Mentuhotep II, in which the interred was likely someone closely related to the pharaoh. The number and quality of the monuments we found are amazing. They include a wooden figurine, most probably the owner of the tomb, with a wig on his head, said Chudzik. Within the debris level was painted vessels and bowls decorated with plant motifs, that generally date from the 18th dynasty, in addition to a clay figure of a cow and several dozen figurines that were sacrifices made by the faithful and priests in the chapel above. Dr. Chudzik believes that the items were essentially dumped in the tomb by the temple staff, who would have been accepting offerings, but had very little space in the chapel to store them. Archaeologists in Morocco on November 18 unveiled what they said was the oldest jewelry in the world, perforated seashells dating back as much as 150,000 years. The shells, assumed to have formed necklaces and bracelets, were discovered in the Bismoun cave near the coastal resort of Essaouira. They were dated as 142,000 to 150,000 years old, according to researcher Abdeljalil Bouzougar. This discovery has enormous implications for the history of humanity, he said, adding that it suggested the owner was using language. These are symbolic objects, and symbols, unlike tools, can only be transmitted through language, Bouzougar added. So this raises the question, does this discovery imply the existence of a language used to communicate between these groups, or with members of other groups? Speaking at a press conference organized by the Culture Ministry, Bouzougar said similar ornaments had been found across the Middle East and Africa, dating back between 35,000 and 135,000 years. These people searched for the same type of seashell despite the existence of many other types, he said. This shows that they shared something. Maybe there was even a language, he added. These objects traveled over huge distances. He also noted that Morocco was the site of some of the oldest Homo sapiens remains discovered to date, 5 individuals who died some 315,000 years ago and were discovered in 2017. Bouzougar's team included researchers from Morocco's National Institute of Archaeology and Cultural Heritage, INSAP, as well as the University of Arizona in the US and France's Lamphia Research Institute. The discovery came after archaeologists in Morocco in September identified clothes-making tools fashioned from bone dating back 120,000 years, the oldest ever found. Archaeologists excavating a 5,500-year-old chambered tomb on the sandy peninsula of Tresnis, Orkney, have clarified the monument's layout and recovered 2 enigmatic polished stone balls. The team from the University of Central Lancashire and National Museums Scotland is investigating the function of the early Neolithic monument, which has been damaged by coastal erosion. Excavations have revealed a 5-celled, rectangular original structure, which was then rebuilt as a Bronze Age round cairn around 1800 BC. Dig director Professor Vicky Cummings of UC told CA that the project's 2019 investigation revealed an entrance passage connected to Cell 4 and a Bronze Age cyst within Cell 1 of the Neolithic monument, while the 2021 excavations have uncovered several unusual finds, including 2 exceptionally well-preserved smooth stone balls, deliberately placed within the tomb. The first one was found tucked up against the first, left-hand orthostat in cell 1, and the second one was tucked up right in the corner against the orthostat at the back of cell 3, Vicky said. The purpose of the balls remains obscure, but Vicky says they could have been used as weapons to inflict head injuries, or as ritual objects. Although carved stone balls are a Scottish phenomenon, she added, the team has been considering connections between smooth, polished stone balls found in passage tomb contexts in Ireland. The archaeologists also found deposits of cremated human bone between cells 2 and 3, which Vicky said is reasonably unusual for a stalled cairn, where inhumations would be the more expected form of burial. Surprisingly, over 100 skyle knives were found throughout the Neolithic structure. Cell 4, at the end of the entrance passage, contained evidence of extremely uncommon practices, a series of burnt deposits, which, according to Vicky, show that in the earliest phase of the monument they were repeatedly lighting little fires, perhaps cleansing fires, in this compartment. We don't know the dates of everything that we've got from the monument at this stage, she told CA. Some of this activity may be later, but certainly quite a lot of it is primary. Post-excavation analysis is now in progress.
It was, in the words of archaeologist Michael Sipp, the discovery of a lifetime. Unearthed ahead of construction of a railway station in Ebrechtsdorf, just south of Vienna, the roughly 3,000-year-old golden bowl features a sun motif and is the first of its kind found in Austria, reports Simon Zbijowski for the state-run Polish press agency, PAP. Vessels of this kind have been found in other European countries, including Spain, France and Switzerland, says Sipp, who is leading the excavation for Novitas, a German company that assists with archaeological digs. Only 30 similar bowls are known to exist, according to Heritage Daily. Measuring about 8 inches long and 2 inches high, the Ebrechtsdorf bowl is made of a thin metal consisting of 90% gold, 5% silver and 5% copper. This is the second find of this type discovered to the east of the Alpine line, Sipp tells PAP. He adds, much more is known from the area of northern Germany, Scandinavia and Denmark because, this kind of pottery was, produced there. The golden vessel is linked to the Urnfield culture, a prehistoric society that spread across Europe beginning in the 12th century BCE, per Encyclopaedia Britannica. The group derived its name from the funerary ritual of placing ashes in urns and burying the containers in fields. An image of the sun with rays emanating from it adorns the newly discovered bowl. Inside the vessel, archaeologists found 2 gold bracelets and coiled golden wires wrapped around now decomposed fabric or leather. They were probably decorative scarves, Sipp tells PAP. He posits that the accessories were used during religious ceremonies honoring the sun. Sipp and his colleagues unearthed around 500 bronze objects, clay pottery and other artifacts at the Austrian site, which appears to have been a sizable prehistoric settlement. The team found the golden bowl in shallow ground near the wall of a house last year. The numerous and valuable finds in the form of bronze and gold objects are unique in this part of Europe, and so is the fact that the settlement in Ebrechtsdorf was so large, Sipp tells PAP. Soon after the find's discovery, the Austrian government stepped in to ensure the artifact's safety. The golden bowl will soon go on view at the Kunsthistorisches Museum in Vienna.
Colin Steer, from Plymouth, discovered the well 10 years ago after noticing a dip in the floor while redecorating, and he has spent the last decade digging it out. The 70-year-old believes that the well could date back around 500 years after discovering an old sword hidden in its depths. Plans of the site also suggest that the well could date back to the 1500s. Colin said, I found what seemed to be a leather casing of a sword when I was about 5 feet into the dig, which leads me to believe that the well could be medieval. However, it could date back to even earlier than that because we have no real way of accurately dating it at the moment. Colin added that he has even drank some of the water in the well. It was really clear and tasted fine to me, he said. I am going to get it tested for bacteria, and if everything came back good then I could even bottle it up and sell it. After noticing the depression on his floor, he said his first thought was that someone had buried a dead body under their floor because they didn't live in a mining district. He added, the house was built around 1895, and we moved in 1988. Around 10 years ago we were doing some decorating, and I was replacing floor joists when I noticed the floor dipped near the bay window in our front room. I immediately thought someone must have buried someone under there, or that we had a sinkhole. Since that moment, I decided I was going to dig it out and see what I would find. The hole is currently 17 feet deep, and there is about another 4 or 5 foot that I want to dig out when I eventually get round to it. At the bottom of the well there is about 4 feet of water, so everything that I dig out now will be wet and mucky stuff. I don't think my wife, Vanessa, would be too keen if I got that all over our front room. Although she does find the whole thing very interesting too. Colin said that when he eventually reaches the bottom of the well he would love to extend it out of the ground and turn it into a coffee table. He said, "I would extend the walls of the well up through the floor, and then add a round tabletop on top to make it into a coffee table. I think it would be a great feature for our front room." We still aren't really sure about why the well is there. We have looked at old maps to try and work out its origin, but we have had no luck. But because of the sheer size of it, we have guessed that it could have been used for feeding animals or for 2 to 3 families. Since I began digging out the well I have found a coin from 1725. But that could mean a number of things, as it could have been dropped down there at any time. It doesn't necessarily mean that's when the well was constructed. The 17-foot hole in the couple's living room is currently covered over by a sheet of plastic and a trapdoor so that it is safe. Colin added, "It is a good thing to show off to people, as it is not something that you see every day." Archaeologists excavating shipwrecks off the Greek island of Kazos have unearthed a trove of pottery that sheds light on trade networks in the ancient world, according to a statement from the country's Ministry of Culture and Sports. Scholars from the Ministry and the Institute of Historical Research of the National Hellenic Research Foundation uncovered the 4 shipwrecks last fall. As the Athens news agency reports, the most significant discovery was a hoard of Roman pottery. The vessels found on board the 2nd or 3rd century AD wreck included amphorae filled with oil produced in Guadalquivir, Spain, and African amphorae from what is now Tunisia. Speaking with ERT International's Teofilakti Zavitsanu, expedition co-leader Xanthus Argyris says, "His is the first time we have found amphorae from Spain in North Africa, which probably transported oil to Rhodes or the coasts of Asia Minor." Per Antonia Komarkowski of Greek City Times, the other 3 shipwrecks span millennia. One held amphorae dating back to the Hellenistic era, in the 1st century BC, while another contained amphorae created during the Classical era, around the 5th century BC. The final shipwreck was far more recent, dating to modern times. Used throughout the classical world, amphorae represent a wealth of information for contemporary scholars. As Mark Cartwright pointed out for Ancient History Encyclopedia in 2016, the 2-handled jugs whose name is derived from amphophorius, the Greek term for carried on both sides, hold clues to archaeological sites, dates, trade links and inhabitants. Though these vessels are commonly associated with ancient Greece, civilizations ranging from the Romans to the Phoenicians also used the jars. The newly unearthed amphorae may reveal more details about Kazos' history. According to Ancient Origins Ashley Cowie, the island, which is located near Crete in the southern Aegean Sea, was an important ancient trade center where merchants exchanged goods from across the globe. The recent finds offer scholars additional information about what Kazos residents ate and where these foods originated. Kazos, says the ministry in the statement, per a translation by Ancient Origins, was a crossroads of civilizations. According to a separate statement, the expedition was a part of a 3-year research project that aims to document the seabed near Kazos. As Tornos News reports, 23 experts from multiple fields have conducted around 100 dives totaling more than 200 hours. Work is expected to conclude this year. The next research project will include a state-of-the-art seabed detection machine without divers that will give us possible wreck points both on the surface and at the bottom, Argyris tells ERT. In 2019, the research team discovered another 5 shipwrecks dated to between the 4th century BC and the modern period. As Nick Kampouris noted for the Greek Reporter at the time, one of the wrecks dated to the Greek War of Independence in the 1820s, while another dated to the Byzantine era, between the 8th and 10th centuries AD. Highlights of the finds included an iron cannon, tableware, Byzantine amphorae and 5 pyramid-shaped stone anchors, according to the second statement. Per Ancient Origins, the Greek ministry deems the latest find another trove of ancient treasures.